never been a rule breaker or a law breaker. If somebody tells me I can't do something, I just don't do it. It's what I've always been like. Like my sister reminded me recently, she said, remember, we were never allowed space dust. Do you remember space dust? Never allowed it because my mum thought it was drugs. That's what all the bairns are getting into these days. They're all getting hooked. I'm sure she thought it was a gateway drug to dib-dabs and fountains. But my dad said, you've had it now, haven't you? And I went, no. And he went, but you're in your 30s. And I went, but I'm not allowed. But I had quite a girly relationship with my mum when I was little. Like, if she got new makeup or new clothes, she'd always show me. Every single time she bought new perfume, she'd always say, do you want to smell of my new perfume? And I'd go, yes, please. And I'd go over to where she was. She'd bend down because I was only little. She'd pull her top to one side and I would inhale. And every single time she'd done a massive fart. She never told me. For years, that's what I thought Chanel No. 5 smelled like. At best, it's Chanel No. 2. But my sister, she likes to buy me little presents every now and again. You know, sort of, she always says, I saw this and I thought of you. And they're never, you know, they're not big and expensive. They're just daft little things that she's seen. The most recent one was a pillbox. I saw this and I thought of you. And it's a Mr. Man pillbox to show children that tablets can be fun. And the Mr. Man of choice is actually Little Miss Late. Finally, somewhere for all of my morning after pills. But we had a chat recently, maybe Mum, she's got a friend who's quite a bit younger than her who's on the contraceptive injection. And I don't like the idea of the contraceptive injection because when I was on the pill, I had a lot of bother with it, so it was quite nice to be able to come off it straight away. With the injection, it's a bit more complicated. It was a very sensible conversation. It was a very female conversation that my dad chose to interject. Put his paper down and he went, you should never mess with Mother Nature. And my mum went, never mess with Mother Nature. You can talk with your metal hips. My dad's a very friendly man. He likes to talk to people. He likes to talk to everybody. He likes to know people's names. He's the sort of person in a shop, he will read all of the name badges. So if we go in a shop, he gets his change off the lid down the till. He goes, thanks very much. Jean. We're just glad that he stopped staring at an old lady's tit. We got a train last year from London up to Newcastle. Me, my sister, my mum and dad managed to get a table on the train. Awesome work. And we got really cheap first-class tickets because we booked them when I was about 9. And a lady got on the train and sat across from us on her own. And my dad was instantly sort of itching to talk to her. Stranger must chat. And they did have a very minor conversation. My dad said something like, it's not that cold down here, is it? And the lady said, no, it's much warmer than it is up north. That was it. That was the extent of the conversation. Yet my dad still saw fit in 10 minutes' time when the woman removed her cardigan to go, da-da-da, da-da-da-da. I have a good relationship with my mum. You know, sometimes in comedy you laugh at things because it's familiar, because it's a shared experience. Sometimes you laugh because you're just glad you're not me. I think this next thing might fall into the latter category. See if this has happened to anybody else. Whenever I'm on the phone to me mum, it always makes me need a poo. Give us a woo if that's happened to you. If you're good. I've looked into it. It's a closeness issue. It means that me and those people who wooed, we love our mums more than the rest of you lot love yours. I love my mum so much it makes me shit. Try getting that on a balloon on Mother's Day. Thank God for Moonpig. When I was in Australia, I missed my family terribly, and I used to Skype them once a week. You know this thing of Skype where you can see each other through your computer screens? It makes home feel that little bit closer, I think, if you can see people's faces as well as hear their voices. And they'd sit around their computer, my mum, dad, my sister, in a semicircle once a week, and at the end of every call, they'd lean in and kiss the webcam, which was lovely, but terrifying the first time it happened. Like, I know my sister knows about computers, and I know my dad used to work with computers, but I'm pretty sure my mum doesn't really know how it works. I know that she definitely doesn't know that I can still see her face even when I'm not talking to her. Because I talk to my mum mum, then I'd move on to my sister, and I'd go, how's work? And my mum would do this. But I used to Skype my boyfriend as well, and I Skyped him every day. And I work, away from, there'll be people in this room tonight who work away from home, and I don't think it gets any easier the more you do it. I ended up being in Australia for 6 weeks, and midway through, I just got quite flat and quite sad, and just really wanted to go home. And on one of those days when I rang my boyfriend, when his face came up on the screen, there was such a well of emotion in here that the first thing I said to him wasn't hello. The first thing I said was, "You're too far away." So he moved the webcam. I didn't have the heart to tell him I meant geographically. He just got the laptop and went like that. Is that better, love? Bless him. But whenever I spend time with my sister, we always go shopping, because my sister's a really good influence on me. For example, if I buy makeup, I always buy cheap makeup, because if I buy cheap makeup, I can buy more makeup. That's how my mind works. My friend said to me the other day, she said, "I like that glittery eyeliner you've got on. Where'd you get that from?" I said, "Just from Asda." She said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "It smarts a bit, but it was only £4. But my sister said, "Why don't we just buy one thing that's good quality, a bit more expensive, and will last?" I said, "That's a good idea." So I bought a blusher. And you know how makeup, all the colours have names these days, don't they? My blusher is called Orgasm. I think, why does it have to be called Orgasm? Why can't it just be fucking peach? I mean, peach. It would be more fun if makeup was a little swearier, though, wouldn't it? "I like your nail varnish, thanks very much. It's called Shittin' Red." But my sister was determined to embarrass me in front of our parents, and she went, "Tell Dad what your blusher's called." "No." "Tell Dad what your blusher's called." "No." I said, "Look, we're 35 and 41. Are you really going to reduce us to children?" She went, "Tell Dad what your blusher's called." I said, "Right, shut up, I'll tell him." So I said, "Dad," he's going to limber up for this kind of conversation. I said, "Dad," he went, "Uh-huh." I went, "Me blusher?" "Me blusher's called Orgasm." And he thought he'd do a funny joke, and he said, "When you put it on, does it make your face do this?" And I went, "Whoa!" Whatever you're about to do, you must never do when I am there. God. My parents-in-law have a similar joy for life. They have a real knack for being able to turn a bad situation into a good one. I think it's something we could really learn from, all of us, I think. I'll give you an example of this. They're both semi-retired, and my father-in-law was caught speeding. Now, I don't know if you know this, I didn't know this, that if you're caught speeding and you choose to do the speed awareness course, that you have to do it in the town where you were caught as opposed to where you live, if it's different. They're based in the Midlands. He was caught speeding in Bournemouth. And my mother-in-law said to me, "We've decided to make a weekend of it." Adorable. But I know getting older is no plain sailing. I know that there are problems along the way. One of my friends is in her 60s. Have we got any women who are 60 or above? Give us a cheer. A few of you, so maybe you can vouch if this is true or not. One of my friends, she's 62, and she said, "There's something I need to tell you." I said, "That sounds really serious. Is it serious?" She said, "Well, I just don't want it to come as much of a surprise to you as it did to me." I said, "OK, well, you better tell us what it is then." She said, "When you get to my age, down there, instead of it being a lovely, healthy pink colour, I could have walked away right then and there. Whatever you've got, I don't want to know. Instead of it being a lovely, healthy pink colour, it's more of a slate grey." It's the detail that I love. She didn't say grey, she said slate grey. Like she'd had the Dulux colour chart out. "Here, Terry, look at that. Do you think that's thunder or slate?" I was so horrified by what I just learned that I blurted out, "You mean like when meat's on the turn?" Does that smell all right to you? There'll be a few handbag mirrors coming out when they get in tonight, I reckon. But my mum is nearly 70 and she's in a wheelchair, and sometimes people are mean to her because she's in a wheelchair, which is horrible and hurts all of us, but her especially. And I was trying to think of just some small way that she could retaliate when that happens to make her feel a little bit better, you know. And I was trying to teach her the cough swear thing. You know the cough swear thing? Arsehole. I was trying to teach her that. Because she's always so immaculately dressed and her nails are always perfect. And I thought nobody for a second would suspect. They'd be like, did that lady just... Did she just... Arsehole. Did she just... No, look at her nails. Get her a lozenge. So we talked about it, we laughed about it, we moved on in conversation. About 10 minutes later, I told about something entirely different. And my mum said, I had to go to the doctors this week. I said, oh, is everything all right? She said, yeah, but I had to see the nurse. I said, oh, is that not good? She said, oh, it's the one I don't really like. I said, oh, never mind. She said, yeah, you know the one I think's a bit of a cunt? What have I done? She did the cough like it was a full stop.
Thanks for watching. You know what would be great? My brand new show, Bobby Dazzler, is out now and available exclusively on my website, sarahmillican.co.uk. Put the kettle on and settle in.